I was still wearing his hoodie when I crossed the line for the first time. It was a dull, gray Tuesday, one of those days where everything feels unreal. The kind of day when your world starts to fall apart quietly, without any thunder or lightning, just a slow crack beneath the surface. Ben had kissed me on the forehead before he left. He told me he'd take care of dinner, pick up the kids, even do bath time. He said, "You need to rest. I've got everything." Then he smiled. An hour later, I was inside someone else's apartment. Windows closed, doors locked, curtains drawn. I knew I shouldn't have been there, but I was. His name was Jake. He was wrong for me in every possible way. Maybe that's exactly why I went. With Ben, life was structured, routines, grocery lists, calendars, weekend schedules. With Jake, it was wild, intense, something unspoken pulling us toward each other. No filters, no hesitation. We didn't talk much that first time. We didn't need to. It was all in the looks, the breathing, that magnetic space between two people who know they're doing something wrong and still lean in. And I let it happen. All of it. You'd think I would feel guilty, but I didn't. Not that day. I felt alive. I remember walking home afterward and looking up at the sky like it had suddenly turned colorful. Everything seemed clearer, louder, even the guilt, but it didn't come right away. It waited, quietly. Ben was already home when I returned. The kids were laughing in the living room. Dinner was warm. He hugged me like nothing had changed. I smiled. I kissed him on the cheek. I thanked him for the day. He had no idea. Or at least, that's what I told myself. The second time, I told Ben I had a late meeting. There was no meeting. There was Jake, and a couch that squeaked, and my phone buzzing from Ben's message. "Don't forget to eat something." I looked at that message while another man held me, and I replied with a heart emoji. I felt no shame. Not then. In fact, the line became part of the excitement. I started organizing my life around it. Tuesdays, Thursdays, sometimes even during my lunch break, I began wearing perfume again. I changed how I dressed. I told myself it was self-care. But deep down, I knew it was for him, for the man who wasn't mine. I made up 1,000 reasons to justify it. I'm tired. I feel invisible. I'm more than just a mother, a wife, a planner. And maybe all of that was true, but it still doesn't make what I did okay. Because while I was pretending to be someone else, Ben was at home packing lunches, ironing shirts, sending me funny messages, still believing in me. That's the part one can't forgive myself for. Do you want to know what haunts me the most? It wasn't the sneaking. It wasn't the lies. It wasn't even the fear of being caught. It was how easily I started lying. By the third or fourth time, it didn't even hurt. I could look Ben in the eyes and say, "Everything's fine." And I believe it, if only for a second. Because the truth is, I didn't feel like I was cheating. I felt like I was surviving. Ben never questioned me. He didn't check my phone. He didn't accuse me. He just kept being good. Too good. I started to believe I could keep doing this forever. 2 lives, 2 stories, no consequences. But I was wrong. So wrong. It didn't end after the first few times. It grew like a weed, quiet, steady, hidden. At first, I thought I had control. I told myself, "You're being careful. No one's getting hurt." But I wasn't just lying to Ben. I was lying to myself. Jake started texting at night. While Ben brushed his teeth in the bathroom, I lay under the covers, reading messages I had no business reading. Sometimes it was just one word, craving. Sometimes it was a picture, not explicit, just a glimpse, a hand, a wrist, a look. It was never about love. It was about desire. And I gave in every time. I told Ben I was working on a side project. Said I needed space, quiet, time to focus. He respected that. Of course he did. He even started leaving early on Saturdays, so I could work. Sometimes he'd take the kids for the entire day. And the moment they left, I'd walk out the door. Jake and I stopped meeting in cars. We began booking rooms. Cheap ones at first. Then nicer ones, with clean white sheets and mirrors that made it all feel like a dream or a movie you're not supposed to be watching. Jake liked being in control. and I like giving mine away. Sometimes I left those rooms with bruises on my hips, lipstick smudged in places it shouldn't be. Then I'd drive to the store, buy milk, smile at the cashier, and go home, like I hadn't just betrayed the man who trusted me the most. Ben was still kind. He folded my laundry without being asked. He noticed when I was tired. He'd slip a charger into my bag when my phone died, without saying a word. He never seemed suspicious. Or maybe he just didn't show it. And that made it worse. Because with every kind act, I felt like I was getting away with it. I felt untouchable, invisible. Jake started asking questions. What would you do if he found out? Would you leave him? Do you ever think about us being real? I never gave him honest answers, because I didn't want real with him. I just wanted the escape, the thrill, the feeling of being wanted, like needing air to breathe. Jake didn't love me, but he liked what I gave him. Attention, risk, a fantasy. I was a secret, and that made him feel special. He never said out loud, but I knew, and I used that. There was one night I'll never forget. Ben had made dinner, candles lit, soft music playing, wine poured. There was no special occasion, just us. The kids were staying with their grandparents. Ben had even written me a small card that read, "Still choosing you every single day." I smiled. I kissed him. But inside I felt empty, because earlier that same afternoon, I'd been in Jake's bed, still wearing the earrings Ben gave me for our anniversary. I started losing track of my own lies, forgetting what excuse I gave last week, what I told Jake versus what I told Ben, which outfit I wore where. One day, I accidentally called Ben the wrong name in a text. He laughed, thought it was autocorrect. I laughed too, but inside my chest, pure panic. For the first time, I realized I was slipping. And still I didn't stop. I couldn't, because somewhere along the way, the affair became part of who I was. Without it, I felt like nothing. Unseen, ignored, just a side character in everyone else's story. But with Jake, I felt sharp, wanted, alive, dangerous. It was poison, and I drank it willingly. One morning, I came home earlier than expected. Ben was in the kitchen, making pancakes for the kids. He turned, smiled, and kissed me like everything was normal. But something in his eyes, too calm, too steady, and I had a thought I couldn't shake. What if he knows? Everything began to unravel. What once felt simple, stolen hours, quiet spaces, quick goodbyes, started to feel complicated. Jake got bolder. I got careless. There was one Thursday I'll never forget. Jake and I had met at a motel just outside of town. Same place as always. Routine. Familiar. But I stayed too long. We lost track of time. And I wasn't thinking clearly. My phone was on silent. When I finally turned it over, 9 missed calls from Ben, 3 from the house phone, 6 from his cell, and 1 message. Where are you? Max fell. He might need stitches. We're at urgent care. My stomach dropped. I flew out of that motel like I was on fire. Hair mess. Shirt wrinkled. Eyeliner smeared. I didn't even look in the mirror, just grabbed my bag and ran. Jake said something behind me. I didn't hear it. I didn't care. All I could think was, please, just let me get away with this. One more time. I made it to the clinic in under 20 minutes. Ben was sitting in the waiting room, holding Max. There was a bandage above our son's eyebrow. When Ben saw me, he looked straight at me, and I knew he saw it. My face, my hair, the scent of unfamiliar cologne, the wrong shoes, the wrong everything. But he didn't say a word. He just smiled that quiet, unreadable smile and said, "You made it. He's okay now." He handed me Max, and I held him in my shaking arms, trying not to fall apart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I waited for Ben to say something, to confront me, to shout or cry or ask. But he didn't. He made tea, rubbed my back, and quietly said, "You've seemed distant lately. Are you okay?" I wanted to scream. I want to confess, or collapse. Instead, I whispered, "Work's been a lot. I'm just tired." He nodded, and that was it. From that moment on, I stopped feeling powerful. I started feeling watched. Paranoia set in. I began checking my phone like a criminal, deleting messages, turning off location tracking, adding fake appointments to my calendar. Jake noticed. He asked why I seemed so jumpy. I told him Ben had been more attentive lately. Jake laughed. Maybe he knows. Maybe he likes the idea of it. I didn't laugh. Then came the photo. Jake and I had been at a small cafe outside of town. We thought it was safe. It was midday, quiet street. The next day, Ben sent me a picture. It was me, sitting across from Jake, laughing, reaching across the table. No caption, no question, just that single image. My heart nearly stopped. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. Then I typed, "That's not what it looks like." Ben replied. Didn't say it was. That was it. No yelling, no accusations, just silence. And that scared me more than any explosion ever could, because now I knew. He knew, and he wasn't reacting. He was waiting. After that, things with Jake grew colder, more distant, mechanical. He was never meant to be permanent. But now I didn't know how to end it. I didn't want him anymore, but I didn't know how to stop. I had built a prison around myself. Something that once felt like freedom now felt like a cage. Ben stopped texting as much. He stopped leaving notes, stopped reaching for me in bed, but he still smiled, still made breakfast, still said, "Love you," every morning. And that calm, that quiet, terrifying calm, made me realize he wasn't pretending anymore. He was planning. One morning, I woke up and the house was silent. Too silent. I walked to the kitchen. No Ben, no kids, no car in the driveway. I checked my phone. No messages. I called straight to voicemail. On the kitchen table, there was a note, just 3 words. I know everything. It sat there for hours. 3 words. Not angry, not dramatic, just final. I stood there, staring, trying to believe it was a warning, a bluff, a test I could still pass. But the silence in the house told me the truth. His closet, empty, the kids' clothes gone, passports missing, the small safe under the bed where we kept cash, wide open, empty. I ran from room to room like a storm, calling his name, dialing his number, voicemail again. And again, I opened the drawer where we kept family photos. Gone. All of them. And still, I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat down on the cold kitchen tiles, in the silence he left behind. And finally I understood. He didn't just find out. He didn't just know. He watched. Watched me lie. Watched me come home late. Heard my fake phone calls. My pretend meetings. My made-up stress. The so-called girls' nights. And he said nothing because he was already leaving. He let me keep going. That's the part that breaks me still. He let me sleep beside him, while he quietly packed his bags in his mind. Let me tuck our kids into bed, kiss their foreheads, while he planned a life without me. He let me cheat, not because he didn't care, but because he had already let go. He didn't scream, didn't break anything, didn't post about it online, didn't shame me, didn't take revenge. He just vanished, silently, brilliantly, completely. I tried to find him. Called his parents. No answer. His sister blocked me. Even his job wouldn't confirm if he still worked there. And the kids, he'd already filed papers. Temporary custody. Claimed emotional instability on my part. Brought screenshots, timelines, GPS records. It was airtight. All those nights I thought I was being so careful. He was watching, collecting, preparing. The judge didn't even look at me. Just signed the papers. Told me I could file for supervised visits in 90 days if I showed improvement. But what does improvement even mean? How do you fix being the woman who shattered her own family? People ask me now, do you regret it? They mean well, but it's the wrong question. Because regret sounds like it came from one choice, one moment. This wasn't a single mistake. It was 1,000, small ones, daily ones, of slow, Steady erosion of the woman I used to be. I didn't just lose a husband. I lost the only person who ever truly saw me. And the worst part? He saw me and still loved me until he couldn't anymore. I thought I was winning, thought I was in control. But the truth is simple. I betrayed him, and he outplayed me. And now, I sit alone, talking to a camera in a quiet apartment. No voices, no laughter, no life, because the man I hurt didn't punish me. He did something far worse. He left,